you talked about science and policy, so I kind of dig a little bit deeper into that. So, how is policy shaped by science? And then sometimes, how is science shaped by policy?
This is an excellent question, and it's interesting because whenever I was looking at graduate programs, I was actually accepted into two programs, and one was at the Brin School, UCSB, University of California, Santa Barbara, the Brin School, and then also accepted into a program at Johns Hopkins. And in at Hopkins, there was this interplay of science and policy. So it was, for me, it seemed to be this keystone moment in my life of, okay, how does this actually functionally work? And we had a lot of professors that have worked for USGS, government type of practitioner type of people. And I really love the practical side of how do these things it's good to have the R&D people because they're looking at the 5 to 10 year, but where is it from a 3 to 5 year or a 1 to 3 year? And then how do we get this into play? And I think it's still the question to this day that I'm looking at, how does the science are being shaped? Now, we are a regulated entity, which means that we have very prescriptive tests, that we have all these standard operating procedures. We're accredited by the Environmental Laboratory Accreditation Program to run very specific tests. And so getting outside of some of those prescriptions and into research, we can't do that because that's what we're regulated it from a law side. And that's how the formulation of policy happens. But we have all these questions in science. And my boss is a lawyer, and I always tell her, in science, you can look at things 1,000 different ways. There's 1,000 different questions. And so I think on the question of how does science really inform some of the policy, a lot of these are discussions with all of the policy makers. So we work with the State Water Resources Control Board in California. We also are regulated by the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board. And those are a little conversation of the limits of science. And I'll give you one example. We started looking at, and something that you might not know about SAQA, but with our background is that we also do water quality testing on the beaches. And so we want to see if the water is safe to swim or not, right? So we have all these population. Our coast is in the Southern California region. It's a big tourist driver for City of Laguna Beach, San Clemente, and Dana Point, right, in our immediate areas. And so we are looking at that from a water quality perspective. And we started to come up with there's been a development of literature over probably about 10 years in the sciences that said, hey, this is the science that informs, us on water quality, and these are the new standards, right? So we worked with some of our science advisory groups that included practitioners from Monterey, Central Coast, the EPA, on advising us on how to make sure that the science that we were formulating on discriminating if a bacteria or a signal was actually live or dead in our samples and our research side would actually be a better indicator than what we're using now. And that has been a way that that from an actual science side went right into the policymakers' hands in an investigative order. And in that investigative order, they're like, you know what, actually, maybe the science isn't ready yet. So we're going to take this portion out for this one matrix for recycled water, and then we'll do more of the testing. So I think it's really that question has been dogging me for the last 15 years. And it's really, is the science ready to be able to explain to the public right now that this is the best way for us to use public resources to make sure that things are safe, essentially. So I think it's always the bleeding edge of the practical side. So I hope that answered your question.
No,